Okay, so as I mentioned last week, before the Ramayana starts, there's something called Narad, which is the glory of Ramchandraji's name. And often we've heard, I'm sure in bhajans you've heard, or even in satsang, Ram ke bara Ram naam hai, which basically means greater than Ram is his name. The name of Ram is even greater than Ram's actual avatar. And many reasons are given for this. But we start with not only Ramchandraji's name, but any name of the Lord purifies us. And it's the most purifying of everything that you can ever do. So from all the tapas, all the sadhana, all the years and years of meditation, except in that meditation where you know Aham Brahmasmi, because then that burns away all your karmas and you get enlightened. Except for that, the strongest thing is Nam Japa. And so it is said that in Satyug, the sadhana that they did was tapas. In Treta Yug, Yagna. In Dwarpa Yug, Dana. Oh, I should use the English, sorry. Austerities, and rigid austerities in Satyug, working collectively together in team spirit, which you can see already in today's world has reduced significantly. And then Dana, charity in Dwarpa Yuga. And then in Kal Yuga, you have to do Nam Japa. And so sometimes it feels like in Satya Yuga, everyone's so powerful and so they can do tapas, which is true. We can't do anymore because we're too busy being distracted by our mobile phones. Tapas is not doing that. And then even working together, we have such low tolerance of each other in today's world. You'll hear this toxic people term getting thrown around so often. And which are these people? Yeah, they may be going through a bad phase in their life, like menopause, and then they get labeled toxic. But they themselves are, so needy of attention and love, and that they acting out in a certain way. Now our tolerance goes down. Even to be able to live with each other, tolerance goes down. We move out. And everybody wants space. Then even charity today, people are apprehensive. They want to give, but is it being used well? Where is it going? Can we trust? All of it valid. So what can we do? Nam Japa. Actually, when you say it's the only thing that we can still do, it isn't a declaration on how weak we have become. It's a declaration on how strong this is, that it still remained effective. Everything else became less able to purify us and strengthen us, but this continues to be effective in strengthening us and purifying us is a credit to Nam Japa. And so then specifically why Ramchandraji's name? So then there's a backstory. So like I said, there's like 7 or 6 backstories to the Ramayana. And since you all wanted to get started with the story last week, we did. But we still have to do all the backstories. So we're going back to story number 2. Last week we did backstory of Shatarupa and Manu, first man, first woman. This week, backstory of Naradji. So there's a story of, lots of stories in this one story. First story, Parvati ji is born of the Himalayas after giving herself up in yogic fire as Sati. And so now when she's burning, when she is doing her tapas to win Lord Shiva as her husband, so much tapas she did. So much tapas she did. And then she's literally serving Lord Shiva, and he's in meditation. Lord Shiva takes his meditation very seriously. When he goes into meditation, he stays meditating for 25,000 years. Very serious. We struggle with 25 minutes. Lord Shiva meditates for 25,000 years. And then he sports for 25,000 years. Then he goes back to meditating 25,000 years. Great balance. He is very single pointed in what he is doing. So he doesn't get distracted. When he's meditating, his mind is so incredibly clear. And so all the devatas are begging that Lord Shiva needs to get married because one asura got a boon that only the son of Lord Shiva will be able to kill him. Shiva's meditating. They need a son to be born so that he can kill the asura, but Shiva's still meditating. So drastic times called for drastic measures. And so Kamadev, Cupid, you can say, Cupid is called upon to shoot Lord Shiva with an arrow of desire for Parvati ji, who has been very sincerely doing so much tapas. Not just, they didn't choose someone random, it was all, for the welfare of humanity. He needs to have child. She's been doing tapas. It's a win-win situation. When the arrow hits Lord Shiva, there's this ripple of desire in his mind. I love this description that in a still clear mind, desire appears as this ripple. But for us, it's not a ripple. For us, it's one big wave. And potentially sometimes tsunami. Because we I want it now. Like it's even something like coffee. It's not just a ripple. Oh, it was like, where's coffee? I need a coffee. It becomes so big, right? Whereas actually, in the stillness of Lord Shiva's mind, there's just this one little ripple. And this is how incredible Lord Shiva is. The moment he comes, he's in full. Meditation means you in awareness. The minute that ripple of desire flashes in his mind, awareness of it is already there. So many a times, even with us, when we're meditating, some desire creeps up, we're not even aware. Sometimes we'll even be humming a song and we're not even aware that we're humming it. Our awareness can be quite a delayed reaction. And sometimes the desire has created quite a bit of havoc in us before we actually even become aware of it. So Lord Shiva is aware of it straight away. And more than being aware of the thought that is presenting itself as desire, last specifically, he thinks, this is not my thought. Like, this level of awareness is why he is Lord Shiva. Because even we have thoughts. Yeah? We have thoughts all the time. We watch some movie and then they have one dialogue there. And then 3 days later, we have some thought and we're repeating that dialogue, but that's not my thought. And this is how society conditions us and shapes us. You hear some political speech about this right and that right and this opinion. Then you hear it again. Then because people keep news on repeat, right? In the background. So you don't hear it once, you hear it again and again and again. And then you're repeating that thought, or you even thinking that thought, or you're thinking in the direction that that thought is leading you to think in. Before, it used to happen with advertising jingles. Very often when people say, how long have I been in Hong Kong? 23 years. Do I know any Cantonese? And I'm usually very sad that I don't, because it's really shameful that I didn't learn the language living here for so many years. But when YouTube plays all those ads and it's in Chinese and I don't understand a thing, it's actually really good. Because when I did understand the ads, like in India and in Australia, back in the day when TV used to have ads in between the shows, you end up singing those advertisement jingles. You start saying the catchphrases of the advertisements. So, with the Chinese advertisements in YouTube, I don't know what they're saying. Doesn't go in. But we end up even potentially buying something because we've heard it so many times. We think a certain way because we've heard it so many times. When we think a thought, we don't have the alertness to think, that's not my thought. Even the choice of words sometimes. That's not my thought. If I'm aware, I'll know exactly who said it and where I picked it up from. And then maybe I want to change, or maybe I don't want to change. And so I have choice. And so Lord Shiva, having that level of awareness of Kamadev shot the arrow, desire fluttered in his mind. Immediately he recognizes the thought and that it's not his thought. So he opens his eyes to investigate, where did this thought come from? Now, there was no intention to burn. Lord Shiva's eyes, after meditating, has that fire of clarity of wisdom and clarity of Vairagya. Vairagya is dispassion. And that steeped in devotion. So when he does open his eyes and he does see Kamdev, Kamdev burns to ashes. Now, it's not like he got angry, annoyed with Kamdev and burned him to ashes. When I open my eyes with immense Vairagya, dispassion, and I look at desire, which is not mine, desire will burn. Unfortunately, Kamadev was a devata, and so him burning turned out to be a little bit inconvenient. But devata Kamadev burning didn't stop desire from existing in the world. It's very much abundantly there. So this incident became well known. Don't mess with Lord Shiva. That's what went through the grapevines. Because if you disturb his meditation, he will burn you to ashes. Something like our gossip, right? Nobody sat and thought about, wow, so much dispassion. He was able to destroy desire. Well, they did think so much tapasva, he's done so much dispassion that lust couldn't disturb him. He did think that. People did think that. But it was more like he burnt Kamdev to ashes. Like, stay away unless you want to have this kind of consequences, stay away. So that was the kind of, in Swarg, in heaven, that was the kind of whispers that were going through the crowd. Around about that same time, Narad Muni was walking from place to place, as he usually does. When he arrived at a particularly scenic place, and the sky was like, the sun was just setting, and this must have been many years later. Sorry, didn't happen the next day. Fast forward a couple of years later. And there's a beautiful river, it's gurgling, and there's lots of flowers, and there's birds chirping, really pretty scenery in nature. And Narad Muni was filled with the sense of how beautiful nature is and how beautiful Bhagwan is to create all this beauty. And so Narad Muni, who was being cursed not to be able to sit still, in that state of inspiration, sat down and meditated, which you don't see very often. You don't see pictures of Naradji Muni meditating because of the curse. But remember, Ramayana starts on the initiative of Narad Muni, and he is indeed a great saint, and definitely one of Bhagwan's foremost tools in being able to deliver messages to all of us. Like when nobody else is quite willing to be the comedian, or the one that gets picked on, or the one that gets seen as having flaws, Naradji puts up his hand and like, I'll do it. And so you'll see that in this story as well. Right? Just willing to serve, be Bhagwan's instrument. So he sits down to meditate because he is filled with this sense of reverie. And he meditates for quite long. And Kamadev didn't learn his lesson. Kamadev sees Narad Muni meditating and thinks, oh, let's see. He takes out his arrow and he shoots. And same as Lord Shiva, Naradji feels this flutter of desire and thinks, well, where did that come from? Opens his eyes and he sees Kamadev. And Kamadev immediately bows down to Narad Muni's feet and says, please, please, please forgive me. I didn't mean to disturb your meditation. And then, because he was in this beautiful sattvic mood, he was like, yes, yes, okay. And here it's interesting because we think we won one battle. And the minute we think we won a battle, we'll lose the next one. Because when we think we've won a battle, we become slightly careless. This is in our spiritual journey. But even with friends, even with families and with relationships, like, if something's going on and then we think, sort it. And then we think, okay, done, I don't have to think about that anymore. Which is because everything needs constant maintenance. But the thing that means maintenance the most is our own mind. And so when Narad Muni says, oh, that's fine, Kamadev says, wow, you're even more, saintly than Lord Shiva. So Naradji thinks, what? And he says, when I shot Shiva with the arrow, he burnt me to ashes. So he overcame lust, which is Kamadev, but he didn't overcome anger. Look at you. You've overcome lust because my arrow didn't affect you. And you didn't get angry and burn me down. So you overcame anger as well. You're even more saintly than Lord Shiva. And suddenly Narad Muni thinks, oh. And gossip spreads very fast, right? So Kamdev goes and tells this one, that one, that one. And of course, this time he didn't get burnt, so his wife is very happy. So she tells everybody as well. Because when he got burnt, the wife was a little bit annoyed. She had to wait something like, I think 1,000 years before he could come in body again. So now Naradji is thinking, I am better than Lord Shiva. In essence, that's what he's thinking. How anyone, well, I guess he's Narad Muni, so he could possibly think that way, because the rest of us would never, just never. So what does he do? This is what happens to us when pride enters our heart. Makes us, for lack of a better word, unintelligent. Because the first thing he does now is he goes to Shiva. And he says, have you heard? What? Essentially, I'm better than you. And this is what pride does. We want to rub it in someone's face. The person who we think we're better than, we want to rub it in their face. And it's so interesting that Narad Muni, a few moments ago, was filled with so much reverence and devotion in his heart, that he could actually sit with a mind that's so still and so aware that even anger doesn't feature, even lust doesn't feature. And then moments later, so much pride that he's telling Lord Shiva, I'm better than you. Like how our mind, that's why I said constant maintenance. Like we can't say, yeah, got that. I'm loving. I'm a kind person. We can't say it like it's a definite. Because next moment we can do something that's just so incredibly unkind. Or, just say, I'm so organized. Very, very dangerous for us to think we've mastered anything, because my main point here is mind is constantly moving. Mind needs constant maintenance. You just can't ever say done. And even if I am somewhat kind, and even if I am somewhat organized, there'll still be room for improvement. So Lord Shiva sees immediately his arrogance. I mean, I'm not going to dramatize the conversation, although it's fun too. And he says, have you heard? Lord Shiva immediately thinks, this is why, Lord Shiva is called Bole Bala. And translation is so hard sometimes of these words. It means one who's very soft at heart. He doesn't like to see even the least amount of pain. And so when he sees Naradji showing off like this, he thinks, he's going to get hurt. he doesn't think, how rude, you're saying you're better than me. He doesn't even think that. He thinks you're going to get hurt. Like this is, and so he tries to help him and says, have you told this to Lord Vishnu? And when he says, no, he says, please don't. Meaning, if you do, you're going to get hurt, and I'm trying to protect you. But when our mind is deluded, what does Naradji think? Oh, he doesn't want Vishnuji to know that I am better than him. He wants to be better, like sibling rivalry almost. Like I want to be the favorite and he wants to be the favorite. And if I don't tell, I'll become the favorite because I'm the one that's conquered lust and anger, and he's not like conquered. And so I should definitely tell Vishnu, but he doesn't want me to become the favorite. And so the mind goes up into this. This is an interesting quality that our mind does. We can't see goodness when it's right in front of us. We can't see well-wisher, even though they so clearly wishing our well, our bala. And why? Because we're in delusion. And sometimes when we're standing apart and we're looking at somebody else's life, we can see it so clearly. But when it's in our life, we can't see it. So this is why I said pride. The minute pride gets into my head, oof, so nasty. Pride just made it's one of the ugliest things in us. Pride. So off Narad Muniji goes to straight Lord Vishnu. From Lord Shiva's Kailash, she goes straight to Lord Vishnu, wanting to tell how he is. So he says, have you heard? And the slightest sniff of pride that Bhagwan Vishnu gets, oh, he's like, Lord Shiva is Bolemda. He won't immediately punish him. But Lord Vishnu is ruthless. He will not tolerate any pride in his devotee's heart. He will humble it straight away. So he says, really, you've conquered pride. I mean, you've conquered anger. That's amazing. You really are exceptional, and you really are better than Lord Shiva. So what he's actually increasing the pride in Naradji's mind. Because the higher the pride is, the more the pride is, the more careless we become. And the minute he leaves Vaikunth, after getting all this praise from Lord Vishnu and thinking himself to be very great, he walks through a town. And in this town, there's a princess having a swayambar. Swayambar is when she's choosing a husband. And when he looks at this princess, she is stunning. And he falls in love at first sight. And so he's just come from Lord Vishnu saying, I've conquered lust and anger. And now he's gone back to the castle to Lord Vishnu saying, I'm in love. And I really, really, really want to marry her. Please, please, please help me. And this is great because as a devotee, he goes back to the Lord alone. That same Lord who he was saying, he's so great too. He's now going back to that Lord to say, please help me. And then he says, he wants to say, make me look like you. One of the names of Lord Vishnu is Hari. So he says, give me Hari Roop. Means make me look as beautiful as you, because Lord Vishnu is considered to be extremely good looking. Even Ramchandraji, Avatar, extremely good. Krishna, extremely good. So, but the word Hari has many meanings. And one of the meanings is also monkey. And so you can imagine Krishna with a mischievous smile on his face saying, sure, I'll give you Hari Roop. And now Naradji looks like a monkey. And so he thinks he's looking as beautiful as Lord Vishnu, and he goes off to the Swayambar to win this woman over. Now at the Swayambar, there's two Shiva Gunas, and they were there in Kailash when Naradji was doing this whole I'm better than you too, Lord Shiva, and they were so annoyed. Like, how dare he speak to Lord Shiva like that? And who does he think he is? And all the rest of it. And so when they see him coming now looking like a monkey, they're giggling and they're laughing and they think they're going to milk this and he should pay for saying all those horrible things to Lord Shiva. And so he comes and stands in front of the princess. And the princess kind of like is looking at him and she just turns away to go in another direction. And he thinks, why? Obviously she'd want to choose me. I look like Hari and she mustn't have seen me. That's why she's turned away. And so the two Shiva Gunas come and say, she definitely didn't see you. How could anyone not choose you? Of course, you will look amazing. Have you seen how amazing you look? And so they totally taunting him. And then so they're like, come here, come stand here. She's going to look here. So she turns the right corner and again, immediately she sees him. And, very graceful, very gracious about the way she just turns away again. And again, he's thinking, why isn't she choosing me? And so these two Shiva Gunas are like, come stand here. Because every time they want her to turn away and every time they want his heart to break a little bit. And then it's announced that she's chosen her king and she's gone. And then he's like, but she didn't choose me. How can she not choose me? And now there's heartache, there's this rejection. And at this point, the Shiva dudes are holding their stomach laughing because they think he totally deserves this humiliation and heartache. And they said, well, have you seen what you look like? And then they bring him in front of the mirror. And then he sees that he looks like a monkey. And now he's furious that Lord Vishnu's done this to me. So he goes back and he doesn't even have to go all the way back to Vaikunth. Before he reaches Vaikunth, he sees Lord Vishnu with his beautiful princess on one hand, who was Vishwamuni, and Goddess Lakshmi, who is even more beautiful, on the other hand. And so there he is standing with both these beautiful women next to him. And here, Naradji has been rejected by the love of his life, and he is so angry and he's so hurt that he tells Bhagwan Vishnu, you can't bear to see anyone else happy. Interesting statement, right? And then he says, you're always taking advantage of everyone. And it's amazing how you can see things in different ways when your mind is in different moods. Because Narad Muni would have praised Bhagwan so extensively for all these actions. But now when he's talking about these incidences, he said, while during the Samudra Mandana, the churning of the Milky Ocean, you gave the poison to Shiva to drink. And you gave the wine and alcohol to the Asuras to drink. And you took Lakshmi and you took the jewels and you took, and it's like, you just take advantage of everyone. It's basically what he's saying to Vishnu. And please remember, during the churning of the Milky Ocean, Bhagwan became the tortoise and was under the ocean. Bhagwan carried the mountain and put it there. Bhagwan was pulling from both sides. Bhagwan pretty much did all the work. It's not like he was sitting around and just took Lakshmi. But Nana, all of that is forgotten. And he's saying, you gave Shiva the poison to drink because he was as a tortoise under the ocean. How can he drink the poison? And then he goes further to say, you think you can get away with this, but today I will show you cannot get away with this. And then this again, this is all this pride in our heart that comes up, where we feel now we have a right to pass judgment on other people, and we have a right to decide consequences and the way things should be. We suddenly feel we have authority or power or this interesting thing that's happened to our mind. And he says, but today I won't let you get away with anything. Everything, actions have consequences, and you are going to have to pay for the consequences of your actions of giving me Hari Roop. And at this point, Vishnuji is still smiling and says, okay, I'll accept whatever consequences you give me. What consequences will you give? And he says, because you as a king came and took the love of my life, you will be born on earth as a king. Well, that's not so bad. And because you separated me from the love of my life, you will be separated from the person you love the most. And you will feel this pang 100-fold more than what I am feeling it now. So pretty strong consequences. And then and because you made me look like a monkey, nobody else will help you, and you will have to turn to monkeys to help you. That was his 3 conditions. And Lord Vishnu looks at him and says, I accept. So he was never trying to get away from consequences. If he was actually trying, if everything Narad Muniji was saying was true, he would have put up a fight, right? That's not fair. No. It's just, and this whole time, it's as though Bhagwan has cast this net of Maya. Because what did he say he had overcome? Desire, lust, infatuation, if not full-blown lust. And then what he wants? Marry beautiful princess. So obviously he hasn't overcome desire. And now what's he doing? Yelling furiously. At who? The Lord. Obviously hasn't overcome pride. It makes whatever it is we thought of, that only we end up doing. So Bhagwan as though pulls back his Maya. And in an instant, Naradji realizes, oh my gosh, what have I done? You must remember, Naradji's personality is, actually, he wouldn't have got an infatuation easily. His swabhav was one of a renunciant. Anyone can get infatuated. It's not that it's impossible, but unlikely. It's not really something he desired. Where somebody else born with those desires far more attracted to that. So, in fact, if Bhagwan had let him get married, he would have been miserable. She would have been miserable too. So, but just for him to see that he hadn't, you can't take the mind, but actually it's not for Naradji to see, it's for us to see. We can just never take the mind for granted. And so when Maya is pulled back, now Naradji is thinking, oh my gosh, I've cursed Bhagwan to have pain and heartache. And then he's begging for forgiveness, and he's begging for, let me rectify this. And Bhagwan says, it was my will. Right? So you will see this in all the stories, pre-stories to the Ramayana. And when it comes to whoever is regretting their action, Bhagwan says it is my will. And at this point, it ends here. But when we fast forward into the Ramayana and Sita ji is kidnapped, then Ramchandraji is weeping with grief of being separated from Sita ji. And they've been together in the forest for 13 years. So they've lived so closely together for 13 years. And then she's kidnapped and it's so much grief. And at that point, Naradji comes to visit Ramchandraji when he's in that state of grief. He bows down and he's like, please forgive me. You have to go through this because of me. Like, please allow me something. And then Bhagwan again says, it was my wish. You don't have to worry about it. But it is at that point that Naradji declares that this birth of yours that you have had to suffer because of my curse to you and your compassion that you've accepted this and you're actually living it out, it is my wish, my boon to this world, that this name, Ram, will be more powerful than all others. And so it's Naradji's boon that Ram's name stands out even amongst all the names of the Lord. And so there's no one that is more powerful. Any name of the Lord is powerful. God is only one, Bhagwan is only one, divinity is only one. But you will hear Ram Nam Satya Hai more often than you will hear some of the others. And for those who love the Ramayana, you definitely hear the chanting of Ram. It's interesting, if you are Shiva devotee, you end up loving Ram. If you are Hanuman devotee, you end up loving Ram. So it's he finds his way into our hearts, like this hero that he is. So this is one of the reasons that Ramchandraji's name is considered the most powerful. This is Naradji's wish, because he could really see the compassion of the Lord. Like, to erase his pride, he was willing to undergo this suffering. To purify the devotee, the Lord is willing to undergo suffering. It's basically what this story is saying. And so often we think, what is God doing for me? Like, does he even know I exist? What's he doing? Here I am, struggling with so many things in my life. I have so many fears. I have so many problems. What is God doing? Stories are like this, such a reminder that to purify us, he goes through so much more suffering. This name then is now given this like a crown position. And usually we meditate on Lord Vishnu by chanting the Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Lord Shiva, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chant. Earlier this year for Purushottam Mass, we did the Vishnu Sahasranams, and it's really quite enjoyable. Extremely powerful, extremely purifying. And in the Vishnu Sahasranam, it's you're meant to do it every day. It takes about 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes if you're a bit slower. And so Parvati ji, there's this scene in the heaven where she says, there's so much to do. I've got 2 kids to look after. I have the whole universe to feed. I have this to do. Then I have to go here. I have to go there. You want me to sit for 1 full hour and do Vishnu Sahasranam? Sometimes there's just not enough time in the day. Just can you tell me something that's shorter to do? And so Lord Shiva tells her, if you can't do all 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, do just Ram. And so there's a mantra given at the end of the Vishnu Sahasranam. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manodame Sahasranama Tattoram Rama Nama Paranami. And so the Ram's name comes, I think, about 7 times in that mantra. I just chanted it. Some of you counting it? Is it 7 times? Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Sahasranama Tattoram Rama Nama. 6, 7. So you're not saying it once, you're saying it. So it's equivalent to doing the entire Sahasranam. You just do that. It's equivalent to doing the entire Sahasranam. And so Parvati ji does that every day instead of the Sahasranam. And so it's these kind of like, they call them life hacks. If you can't do this mantra is your life hack. If nothing else, just Ram. Just one. And even the most powerful ones are the shortest ones. Like Om is the most powerful. And then now we know from all the different forms, Ram is the most powerful. And then, so because it's the most powerful, encouraged that we do it. So in a way, it's a way to encourage us to do it. Like you're not doing anything and then you hear this is the most powerful. Okay, then I'll do that. Like, instead of doing so much, if I can get just this, and then we feel like we're cheating, like we're getting a shortcut, then we're more likely to do it. The rishis knew all psychology. So, and then in this Namayan, this whole description about name and form. So our mind, Puja Gurudev had defined it as a flow of thoughts. And the medium in which our mind works is words and forms. So when you think in words, and you think in images. Nothing else. And it's really interesting. You can't really remember smell. When you smell it, you recognize it. You can't actually really remember it. Like if you can, like how you can remember a word, you can remember a picture, can't really remember smell in the same. Isn't that interesting? It's one of those. We know what it is, but we can't actually smell it now when we smelling it, when we remember it. And one of the ways in which the brain is formatted. So, but name, words come very easily. Form comes very easily. So since the mind works with name and form, then the rishis have understood that the best way for us to be able to hold on to this knowledge, hold on to divinity, is one, give it a name, and two, give it a form. And so form follows name. Example, if I say to you camel, the word comes first, and then the form comes immediately after. If I say suitcase, the name, and then the form follows. Your mother, immediately it's the name, and then form follows. So in the scriptures also it says, form follows name. And so of course, if form is following name, form is less. Name is higher, more important, more powerful. And that's the whole point. Rama's name is more powerful than Rama. And now this section is really, really beautifully poetic. And it says Rama lived for actually a long time. I think like 400 years, 900 years. But his name lives all through time. So his name lives far longer than Rama lived. So how many people did Ram meet in his life? Let's just say 1 million. There's 1 million people in India. Let's say he met 1 million. But crores chant his name without meeting him. So his name reaches much further than what he himself was physically able to reach, which of course we know makes perfect sense. And then it says his name uplifts those crores of people who chant his name. Whereas physically, Ramchandraji could uplift only a few, like Shabri, like Ahalya, like Guha, like Vibhishan. And we can name them. But through his name, countless have been uplifted. And so in this way, it talks about the benefits of his name being more powerful. So one is through time, and the other one is through space. And so he could only exist in Ayodhya. He could only exist in Dhanmaka forest. But today we know his name has reached America, London, Greenland also, I'm sure. We're doing this Kirtan Under the Stars event that we are all getting very excited about. And Kirtan is a genre now on Spotify. In fact, it's interesting that some of our Indians don't know. When I say we're doing Kirtan Under the Stars, they're like, what's that? I'm like, you don't know what's Kirtan? Bhajans. Oh, bhajans. But they haven't heard the word Kirtan. But it's actually a genre on Spotify. And so if you go on Spotify and you play the Kirtans, they are accented. non-Indian accent, because even Indian is an accent, means who's singing all of these kirtan? The name of Bhagwan has reached so much further. And what was really interesting is that the last time I was in Rishikesh and I tried to buy a bhajan CD, you couldn't find an Indian artist singing bhajan CDs in Rishikesh. Because Rishikesh has become spiritual tourism. So now they cater for the spiritual tourist, which is a lot of Germans and a lot of Russians. I'm sure if they looked in the back room, they'll find one of Jolotra one. They're there. It's not that they're not there, but it's actually a beauty, such a beautiful thing that Bhagwan's name has reached so far and so wide. Space. He lived in the subcontinent of India, but his name has reached so far. So it transcends time, transcends space, and uplifts. And it's also believed that this name, Ram, crosses Bhavasagar. So what is this Bhavasagar? It's this ocean of becoming. Bhava means to become. Why is this an ocean? Because we are constantly wanting to become something. Right now, what do you want to become? Better at something or the other. Master at something. Sometimes single wants to become married, married wants to become parent, parent wants to become free of the kid. Oh, Gurudev used to say, single wants to become married, married wants to become single. You always want to become already what you're not. No matter how thin you are, you want to become thinner. Okay? You want to become. In today's world now, if you ask the kids what they want to become, influencer, YouTuber, become. We want to become influential, popular, become funny. We want to be more funny. We want to have more intelligence. We want to have more skills, influence. We do. We're constantly wanting to become something. And in a way, that's a good thing because otherwise we stagnate, right? We want to improve. But it's also a bad thing because it is this constant restlessness in us that doesn't allow our mind to be content and fulfilled. We're always feeling like something's lacking in our life and we're running after. We just keep running after. We're running after things and we're running from things. And so, of course, we're exhausted. And it feels like we're running in circles. So this feeling of this lack in our life is Bhavasagar. This need to acquire, this need to possess, this need to attain is Bhavasagar, which makes us feel restless. And so Ram's name is a boat in this Bhavasagar. And when we chant it, we are on the boat. We're still in Bhavasagar, but at least we're in the boat. And when we don't chant it, we're gasping for air while we're being tossed around in the waves of Bhavasagar, which we will feel in our lives, right? We'll feel this sense of every now and then, not all the time. Right? We're very good at distracting ourselves with projects and parties and then I felt fine. And then when there's nothing to do, suddenly there's like, so Rama's name is the boat. that saves us while we're in Bhavasagar. It's the boat that carries us across this ocean, also known as the ocean of samsara. So the name, the value and the beauty of the name. And then the last thing I'm going to say about this beautiful name of Brahm is that it's, and Diwali is coming up, so it's very fitting. Chant the name on our tongue. And this, our mouth is one of those. We have 5 organs of action, which is legs, hands, we use to function in the world. Our speech, we use to function in the world. And then sexual organs for procreation and excretion for the bodily functions, right? 5 organs of actions function in this world. We have 5 organs of knowledge, senses, 5 senses, which are our avenues for knowledge, which is our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. And so through these senses, we gain information and we're able to interact with the world. Through organs of action, we're able to actually do. After understanding the information we got from our senses, we are able to do. And our mouth is both. Taste is a sense, it's an organ of knowledge. And speech is an organ of action. And so it's quite a powerful tool that we have. Everything, our entire body is a powerful tool, but this is like the center point where you can say a lot is happening. And so chanting at this point it's considered to be the threshold of our outer world and our inner world. So even if you think about it in terms of when we close our eyes, we're thinking in our head, and a lot of our thinking is speech. And then a lot of that comes out, sometimes without filter. Why? Because it's the threshold. So, unless we catch it in time, it comes out. So it's the mouth's considered this double, both organ of action and organ of knowledge, and the threshold from inside and outside. Because also a lot of what we say is communication. Right? Outside world, how do I engage with outside world? Yes, hands, and yes, touch, and yes, but it's more the communication is with language. So there's language inside and there's language outside, and then there's the bridge of the two to help me to have my experiences. And so if inside is dark and there's light outside, not so good. If outside is dark and there's light inside, also not so good. So how do we make sure that we have light both inside and outside? And then you put it on the threshold. So saying Ram's name, using speech as saying Ram's name, is putting a lamp, the light of knowledge, light of Ram, on the threshold, and that light floods out into the world, illumining the world outside, and floods inside to illumine the world inside. And actually the very name Ram is broken up into Ra and Ma, and Ra means fire, which is both warmth and light. And that's why, again, Diwali associated so much with Ram, because his name actually means light. And so chanting Ram's name is having that lamp of light, of knowledge and warmth on the threshold between our inside and outside, helping us to be able to see that light in the world outside and experience it within our own hearts inside. So this was not all of Ramayana. This is the summary version of Ramayana, but we covered it. And because Ramchandraji was born, right, last class, so now you have to give a name. Form came, we have to give a name. So today's class was about the name. Okay, any questions?
Name that you say,
Huh.
has symbolic meaning. So if my Ishta is Shiv,
Huh.
should, if I'm doing the Uchcharan of Shiv mantra, or if I speak,
Then you keep doing Shiv. Wherever your Ishta is, you keep doing that japa. But when you're listening to Ramayana, you invoke Ramchandraji. Then you say, give me more love for Shiva. Ramji, you are so awesome. Give me more love for Shiva. Whoever your Ishta Devata is. Right? So if your Ishta Devata is Krishna, you listen to Ramchandraji's glories. Your name is so powerful, you are so powerful. Please give me more love for, who was it? Krishna. But listening to any katha increases devotion, which will increase devotion even for your Ishta. Because you have to know how to love before you can love. We'll have to learn from people who loved. Like Shivji's love for all of us, that he will endure poison so we can have Amrit. Vishnu's love that he will endure a curse from a devotee so the devotee can see his own flaws. So Naradji's love shows us how to love. That's a good thing about stories also. They don't have too many questions. Mahabharata class would end and you'll have so many questions. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niram, sarve bhadram pashyantu, ma kaschit prabhavade, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Hari Om. Hari Om.